Radio check. Alright. Sounds like we are 5 by 5. Okay. Today is a little bit different than usual. So, did a lot of revamping on my channel, and we have a brand new name. Generation Blowout just wasn't doing it for me. It was an old band name, but live streaming the flight sim and everything like that, I decided to give it a change to have a more aviation related thing. So we went with Air Tones because my nickname back in the day was Tones, and I don't know, Air Tones just sounded cool to me. If you guys hate it, let me know. If you guys love it, let me know. Whatever. I might change it again if it's corny, whatever. But anyway, that's just one of the many changes. Changes number 2, we have the inclusion of Nightbot. So now we have some commands available to us in the chat. So if we want to do things like check the route of flight, if we want to check the aircraft, if we want to, learn a little bit about me, exclamation point about, things like that. So Nightbot, if I could speak, is in the chat now, which is really cool. And then the last thing is we now have a Discord server, which if you put exclamation point Discord in the chat, it'll give you the link to that. You can join up and we can get things rolling on from there. And lastly, today is the 25th of July. So this is going to be a Christmas in July stream, and Christmas has to do with gifts, right? So I was thinking, I'm considering doing a giveaway, but I have just a little bit of a deal for you guys. If I can get 10 likes on this video, once I get 10 likes, if I'm in cruise for the leg back to Niagara Falls, I will go ahead and initiate that, and we will get that rolling. And what I will be giving away is the new Flight FX Citation X. Citation 10, really, but Citation X. I have been watching people fly that plane, and they seem to like it a lot. It seems to be a really decent aircraft, and I'm all about GA, and I think since it's brand new and not everyone has it, I feel like that'd be a perfect thing to do for a giveaway. So 10 likes on the video at some point, and we will initiate a giveaway during cruise on the way back. I hope that's a deal. So anyway, Christmas in July stream. So what better to go with the theme than to fly in some ridiculously snowy conditions? And we're flying the Norwegian Air Red Nose livery. Now, obviously, this isn't a real flight. This isn't real ops because it's Norwegian Air, and we're going from an American airport to another American airport, and nothing really flies out of Niagara Falls except for Allegiant. But we wanted to go with the theme, so we have the Red Nose aircraft, and we have snow in July. And once again, 10 likes, and we get a giveaway. So brand new channel, brand new things going on. It's looking good. Trying to become a little more professional as I go on. I still have a lot to learn. I'm learning as I go, but we're getting there, which is really important. So, all right, we are at Niagara Falls, and we are going to JFK because New York City is the Christmas capital for a lot of people. You got the Rockefeller tree. You got a lot of stuff going on in Times Square. It's a really good time of year to be in New York. Well, when it's really Christmas, but just to go with the theme, that's where we're going. So today, we're flying the 737 MAX8. It is my second time flying this aircraft on stream, and I'm still learning a lot about this thing. It definitely has some differences from the OG 737-800, but it's mostly the same. It's just a little quirks here and there that I'm still trying to learn. It does fly a little differently as well. The controls feel a lot more heavier in this aircraft than they do in the PMDG, but we're rolling with this one because we have the red nose livery, and I wanted to do something a little bit on the newer side, but a little more familiar because we're flying in really crappy weather conditions. So let's go ahead and get to it, and let's get ourselves ready to fly. Alright, so we're in the cockpit of the Boeing 737 MAX, and real quick before we start, I'm just going to try and remember all of these camera commands. Okay. Still getting a feel for it. Okay, cool. I like that. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set our performance and payload and all that stuff just to get the aircraft ready to go before we turn anything on. And this is one of those things that I'm still trying to learn, to be honest with you. I'm not going to worry about the takeoff performance or anything like that because we're not doing real world weather, so I'm not going to be able to get a really accurate METAR or anything like that, but we are going to set the weight and balance. I did put into SimBrief a flight plan, given the weather conditions are a lot different than real life, but we'll base it off of that. So today we'll start by loading 178 passengers, so this seems like a pretty loaded flight, and it looks like you can't type with your keyboard, which is interesting. So 178 passengers, and we have 6230 on the cargo, and so let's go ahead and split that in a way that gives us a more cargo in the back. So I usually try and get as close to, you know, 1/3 of the weight in the front, 2/3 in the back. I'm not perfect at that by any means, but we're gonna go with 2,000 pounds up front, and we're gonna go with 4230 in the back, like so, and then our total fuel here, there we go, our block fuel for today is going to be 11,922. So let's go ahead and set that. Excellent. And we look well within the weight and balance category here. Just going to make sure that everything's set exactly how I intended it, which it did. So let's set the fuel, let's set the payload, and we now can complete. All right. And again, I'm not going to worry about the performance calculations because we're simulating much colder and better performance temperatures and all that stuff anyway. So that's all good to go. We have our weight and balance loaded up, and I think we're ready to do everything else. Okay, so let's go to the top here. Actually, first, we're going to verify that the landing gear is down, the speed brake is up, the flaps are up, thrust levers are in the idle position, reversers are stowed, and nothing weird can happen to us when we turn the power on, and the parking brake is set. Look at that, I remembered to check that this time. Cool. Coming to the overhead panel here, so let's go ahead and turn the battery on. There we go. And that guard should close for us, which it does. We will arm the emergency lights. Let's give ourselves a little bit of dome light here just to make sure we can see, even though it's the middle of the day. The clouds are pretty thick and it's relatively dark outside. So now we can turn the left forward fuel pump on for the APU, and we can get the APU started. And we'll flip this knob over here to APU Gen so we can make sure we get a positive charge once the APU becomes available. And again, there's no real good way of determining what the APU is doing. The classic 737 had the EGT over here, but we just roll with it. So while we're waiting on that, let's go ahead and get some panel lights going for us so we're able to see what we're doing in the aircraft. Turn the panel lights on here. Turn them on. If I could actually hit it. There we go. Over here. So drop this yoke down just a little bit, and we got them up over here. Cool. Back to the overhead panel, and still waiting on that APU to become available. Anytime now will do. There it is. Alright, the APU is available for us. So let's go ahead and get the APU bleeds on and the packs on so we can put a little bit of warm air into the cabin so the passengers are comfortable, because again, it's snowing outside and we want them to be warm. Alright, cool. Sweet. And the next thing we'll do is come up to overhead. Oops, wrong one. And flip the IRS knobs into nav mode because I do have those on realistic, so they'll take a while to align, and it looks like it'll be about 9 minutes before the IRSs are aligned. Cool. Now, real quick, I'm going to take a sip of my water. Hydration, that's important. Alright, let's go ahead and get this video going. There it is. Alright, cool. So now we can start running our flows. Oops. Still used to those PMDG settings. Alright, so our flight controls, our spoilers, and our alternate flaps are all in the closed and guarded position. Everything looks good there. Our standby hydraulics lights are extinguished. The speed trim fail is just because we don't have anything running. The IRSs are also not aligned, so that doesn't help. Yaw damper will turn on and verify that the light extinguishes. Good, so our yaw damper works. Excellent. All of our navigation switches here are in the normal position. Our displays, the source is auto, and the control panel is normal. Excellent. Love to see it. The left forward fuel pump for the APU is on just how we want it. We are on APU generator mode here, and we have 74 amps, so we have positive amperage. We are getting a positive charge from the APU, which is good. We are on APU generator, so we have electricity, good. Panel lights are on, excellent. Lav light is off, good. It's not used, not dirty, excellent. Equipment cooling, both are in the normal position, that's excellent, love to see it. And the lights extinguish as well. The emergency lights are armed. The fasten seatbelt signs can come on. Test the flight attendant light, or flight attendant sound, which we have in the ground call. You can barely hear that in this aircraft, but I did hear it and it works. And we do want window heat, especially today. Probe heats are going to go in the auto position, and we'll verify that those come on when the engines start running. Anti-ice is off for now, but we will be using that on takeoff this time due to the conditions. Hydraulic pumps can stay off for now, exactly how they should be. Forward entry is open, but that's because we are loading passengers right now, even though I don't have GSX or anything like that. We'll go ahead and test the cockpit voice recorder, and we get a green light, which is good. Cabin pressurization is looking good. Everything is zeroed, seeing as how we're on the ground. Excellent. The pack temps are in the Celsius condition here, and they look about normal. Running a little bit hot, but we're getting warm air into the cabin, so that's good. Trim air is on. Excellent. All of the cabs are in the auto position. If we needed to change those, we would. Just to get rid of this dual bleed indication, I will flip the engine bleeds off and the light extinguishes. That's good. Today we're cruising at 31,000 feet, so we'll set that in our pressurization panel. Our landing elevation at JFK is 13 feet, so we're actually going to leave that landing elevation at 0 because that's the closest, because this goes up by 50 and 0 is closer. The manual is looking good. We don't need it. We're not doing manual pressurization. Logo lights are on. Nav lights are on, so the ground crew knows we are powered up. Excellent. And we'll come overhead here. Our ELT is in the armed and guarded position. Good. Test the flap lights. Those all illuminate. That's good. Elevator jam, landing assist. The light is extinguished, and it is off and guarded. Sweet. We have now we have 5 minutes for the IRSs to align, and they are actively aligning as indicated by the lights. Good. We have our dome lights on, so we'll have to remember to shut those off. This is just a spare audio panel. That all looks good right there. All of our lights are extinguished here. Our EECs are both in the on position, which is good. Crew oxygen is above 15. Love to see it. Passenger oxygen, normal and guarded, and the light is extinguished. We have 3 greens for the landing gear up here. Broadband system we will turn off. We don't really need that right now. Flight recorder is normal and guarded. We'll test the Mach airspeed warning. We get it on both sides. And we have both stick shakers. Cool. So now we'll come down here to the throttle quadrant. We'll run our fault test for the fire detection. And then our fire detection, we have lights and whistles. Everything looks good. Test the extinguisher lights. They're all green. Cool. Stab trim is in the up and normal position. That's excellent. Our parking brake is on, and we have a light indicating that it's on. Cool. So let's go down here. Radio panel is all fine and done for now. Don't really need anything on this left side. Let's go ahead and test the cargo fire detection. And we have lights and whistles. Excellent. These switches are in the normal position. That's good. And now the lights are extinguished. We don't have to worry about the weather radar right now. We'll test that up in the air if we think of it. We are going to squawk 2000 because we are going IFR. Now we are offline today, seeing as how we're not on live weather, but we will be IFR, so we'll just squawk 2000 for the sake of realism, and that's good. ATC 1, so we are reporting. That's good. Sweet. Our trims are in the neutral position. Aileron trim buttons are neutral. Rudder trim is neutral. Everything looks good there. Our stab trim is normal and guarded. And our flight deck door, well, we could actually do that. And the lights are also extinguished as well. In the PMDG, I don't think you can actually do this, so that's kind of a cool little extra. And we'll open up the landing gear emergency extend, and we'll verify that those extensions are closed and, you know, locked, which they are. That's good. Close the door back up. Excellent. So let's come back to the front, and we will set our autopilot ahead of time. And we're going to be cruising at 31,000 feet. Oop. Somehow I accidentally clicked on my camera. Cool. And we're just going to assume that V2 rounded up is 160 as we normally do. Today the winds are coming out of the west, so we're going to use runway 28 at Niagara Falls. So we'll set 280 on the heading bug. Autopilot's looking good. The altimeter I set to standard, so 2992, that's set for us. That's good. Our map, we will put in a flight plan momentarily. Let's come across here and test all of our lights. So the autopilot indications are all good. Excellent. All of these lights are extinguished. There we go. We'll flip this to inches of mercury, seeing as how we're in the US. We'll test these lights here. Good. Good. And those lights are extinguished as well. We have 3 greens for the landing gear. Up here, the lock override switch will not touch. The nose wheel steering is in the normal and guarded position. That's what we like to see. Fuel flow will keep on rate. Auto brake, I think I accidentally clicked that when I was looking somewhere else. The selectors are fine, and we're looking good there. Alright, cool. So now, as we wait for the IRSs to align, we'll go ahead and set a position. So, position in it. Our reference airport today is Kilo India Alpha Golf, Niagara Falls. And we will obtain our position from the GPS left over here. Good. Go to route. And we'll start putting that info in. So we're going to Niagara, or we're coming from Niagara Falls. And we are going to JFK. So Kilo, Juliet, Foxtrot, Kilo. Our flight number today is Red Nose 725. Since it's Christmas in July and 7/25 is the date, that's what I decided to go with. That looks good. Alright. Departure for today. There is no departure out of Niagara Falls, so we're just going to select the runway. And, oh yeah, interesting. It's the FMC still thinks that there's parallels at Niagara Falls, but now there is not. The south runway has officially been closed, so now there's just 28, but we'll select 28 right, because 28 used to be 28 right. So that's good. We'll go to route, and then we'll go from runway 28 direct to the Lima Victor Zulu VOR from there. And then that is actually the beginning of our arrival at JFK, and we're looking at the Lendy 8, and the winds are coming out of the west, so let's take a peek at the charts for JFK and see which runway looks more standard for an arrival runway. We'll keep it close to the gates so we don't give ourselves a ridiculously long taxi to the gate here. We'll do... we'll just keep it VFR sectionals, why not? That's what I'm used to the most in my current state as a pilot. John F. Kennedy, there we go. Open charts. And we'll just go to the airport diagram. No, we're definitely putting that on dark mode. That is extremely bright. There we go. So winds are out of basically 270. You know what? We'll do runway 31 left. That seems to be a really fun one to do. So ILS 31 left. And the transition is... doesn't seem to be listed here. Oh, you know what? That's for the ILS. I'm dumb. Okay, so there is only one transition into the arrival, and then we're just going to do vectors to final for the ILS. So that looks good to me. We'll go ahead and activate that. We'll execute it, and then we'll verify it looks correct in this page. So, Lendy LaGuardia. Let's go to legs and remove any discontinuities, which looks like... there is... oh, for the ILS. Okay, yep, we'll get rid of that. Cool. Go to the route page. Now let's go to perf init, and we'll start putting in our info here. So our zero fuel weight right now is 140.3. So let's put that in, zero fuel weight. What do you mean that's invalid? Why would that be invalid? Ramp weight is 152.2. That's really strange to me. That should be working. Let's go back to the EFB here and see what we're looking at here. So 178 passengers, that's correct. Cargo, that's also correct. Fuel, and that's also correct. So let's complete it. Here we go. 140.3. Why is that telling me that's invalid? It's really strange. Okay, let's go to index here. We got the position, performance. Is it going to let us put in the reserves? So the reserve fuel is 5.2. Let's see if that lets us do that. Okay, so we can do that. Cost index is 12. Okay. Is there anything that I'm missing here? I don't know, I've never had this problem before. Interesting. Okay, so our cruise altitude today is flight level 310. Top of climb winds is actually going to be whatever the snow preset is in the sim, so we'll just leave that as is for now. And I really don't know why the zero fuel weight and all that isn't working right now. Okay, what if I do 140-300? Still nothing. It's really odd to me. Interesting. Actually, I think the livery right now is set to kilograms or something. Let's see. Let's go back. Weights, pounds, temperature. Okay. Okay, we're saving that. Panel style, is that what we're looking at? Control display unit. I forgot how to do this. Multi-function. Okay. It's only one page, but that's also not correct. You know, I'm still trying to figure out how to work this plane. I've dealt with this before, but I just forgot how, because this interface is not the most user-friendly. Okay, that's also not it. General? Oh, here we go. US system. Leave 28, so we're leaving that. Okay. Okay, so are we good now? I hope so. Now that we changed that, let's see what we can get here. Oh yeah, okay. So you can see that this display has changed to, you know, the correct one, but the reserves are incorrect. So let's get that back to 5.2. Okay, cool. So we just know that this livery... now it's loading incorrectly. Cool. So the iFly 737 MAX, I mean, most of you probably know because you've had this plane for how long now? I have not, but for those of you who don't know, each livery is set a certain way, so you have to change it between metric and imperial system. Imperial units per livery, so this Norwegian Airlines was set in metric units, even for the displays and everything, but now it's all fixed. We can execute, go to N1 limit, select temp, we'll just we'll trick it into thinking it's 45 because we have a nice long runway and the conditions outside are plenty for a good performance takeoff. So 84.1, and plus these LEAP engines are extremely powerful, so that's good. We're doing a flaps 5 takeoff. We got our CG and the trim auto set, which is good. 5.27. V1 is 141, V2 142, 149. You know what, actually, we're gonna go... You know what, it doesn't really matter. We're good there. Oops. So our V-speeds are staying the same. Those are all set. So we have our performance loaded. We have our route loaded. And that should be it for the FMC. Alright, cool. It's harder to do when you're not in real weather just because you're not entirely sure of the exact parameters of the weather on presets. So, cool. Our IRSs have aligned, so let's go ahead and hit the GPWS test, which we'll have to go to the view here and flip over to this side to be able to hit it.
Glide slow. Pull up. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Terrain. Terrain. Pull up. Obstacle. Obstacle. Pull up. Sink rate. Pull up. Don't sink. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Gear. Too low. Flaps. Glide slow. Bank angle. Bank angle.
Approaching minimums. Minimums. 2,500. 1,000.
Okay, and this goes through the whole thing. Alright, so this one's not a shortened version like some of the other planes.
200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Too low. Terrain. Caution. Terrain. Caution. Terrain. 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 Pull up.
Caution, obstacle. Caution, obstacle. Obstacle, obstacle.
Pull up.
Alright, nice. So that passes, that all checks, and then let's go ahead and hit ourselves with a TCAS test. Even though we are offline for this flight, we get the bars, we get the parameters on the VSI, and we get traffic blips and a traffic warning.
TCAS system test okay.
And it passes. Alright, cool. So now we will get ready for pushback. Alright, so coming up and down again. Low pressure for the flight controls just because we haven't turned the hydraulics on yet. Going to verify there's nothing in the center tank, which there is not. So we're turning all of the fuel pumps on except for the center tanks. That looks good. We'll flip this over to Gen 1 just so it's ready to go when we start our engines. Cool. Fasten seatbelt signs are on. Window heat's on. Probe heats are in auto, which is fine. We'll go ahead and turn the electric hydraulic pumps on and look for the hydraulic pressure to build, which it does, and it's in the green. Good to see. Forward entry door, that'll close momentarily when we're ready to push back. Looking good there, and the packs will come off before engines start. And let's go ahead and flip on that beacon. Alright, cool. So what we're going to do is come over here, and the system page, nope, that was wrong. Sim menu, there we go. Doors. Let's go ahead and close the forward entry door. And we're going to have to use our pushback plugin to get the jetway out of there, because it doesn't seem like there's a jetway option in the CFB for some reason. So let's see if we can get that out of there. Yep, cool. That's detaching. And we'll take a quick peek outside. Look at that. It truly is Christmas in July. You know, it'd be really good to do a giveaway. If 10 people want to come in and like the stream and enter themselves for the giveaway, they absolutely can. Nice. Alright, cool. So we're just going to verify that most of our cautions have illuminated. We have an anti-ice warning because we are in icing conditions and our probes are probably frozen over. But once the engines start, that should turn off. Hydraulics will turn off when we get engine power. And the overhead panel is fine. We're good there. Cool. So now, verify we're ready for pushback. And we are looking good. Alright, let's go. We'll pre-plan our pushback today. And we're looking to push back into this area over here. Yeah, we'll do right there. That works. Cool. And that's what we will enter. And we are ready to go. We have our beacon on, so let's go ahead and request that pushback. And still no audio, which is interesting, but when even though for some reason he doesn't talk to us anymore, when they're ready for brakes to be released and all that, this will pop up in this menu over here. So we're just looking for that. If you guys happen to have, what is this, pushback tool? And we should be getting lifted momentarily. Yep, there it is. And we can release the parking brake, which we'll do by tapping the brakes. And then if there's anything I has experienced from real life is that the cabin is probably very warm back there right now. Alright, so let's go ahead and get those packs off if I hit the correct camera view. So packs are coming off, APU bleed is on, and we are ready to start our engines, verify that we're clear all around ourselves. Looks good to me. So we'll start with engine number 2. Ignition is going to go into ground. We will look for the change in duct pressure, which we got there, and the start valve is open as designated there, and N2 is rising, and then we will wait for motoring to disappear and introduce fuel. Oh, and it disappeared, so let's introduce fuel. Oh, I gotta use my scroll wheel. Huh. And everything is coming up nicely, just as we would expect. Sweet. All right. And we can set the parking brake. And engine number 2 is stable, so let's go ahead and get engine number 1 going. So we put the ignition into ground, we look for the change in duct pressure. The start valve is open on the left side, and N2 is rising. And then once again, we will wait for the motoring to extinguish. Right on. And then while we're waiting for that, the engine start does look good. Oh, you know what? I never... What? Do you have to... There we go. Hold the brakes and then set it. I forget that you have to do that in the Max. Alright, so... Now we're being dropped. Good. And then it looks like just a straight taxi down Delta to get onto runway 28, which you can see on this chart that the south parallel is closed. So we'll just keep that in mind. Alright. Pushback is complete. We can get rid of that plug-in window. Good. Let's come overhead here and verify that everything is where we want it. Alright, we will get the engine generators on. And the amperage is positive, so we're getting a positive charge. That's good. We are... Probe heats are... lights are extinguished, so those are on. That's good. We are going to go ahead and throw the engine ignitions into continuous. And throw on the engine anti-ice, seeing as how it is snowy outside. And the lights light up and extinguish, so we know that they're on. Packs are coming back on. We'll go to engine bleeds, and APU bleed is coming off. ISOL valve is going to auto, and wing light can come on. Taxi light can come on. We'll go flaps 5. Brakes are going to RTO, and we will test the flight controls. Full right aileron and spoiler, left aileron down. Full left. Elevator full forward, full aft, right rudder, left rudder, and flight controls are free and correct. Alright. Oops. And our flaps are set to 5. Cool. Taxi lights are on. Flight directors are coming on as well. And we are set to taxi. Alright. Alright, brakes are coming off. We'll assume we have the taxi clearance. And we'll take it on the slower side on the taxi since it is very slippery outside. Alright, and this is the runway that no longer exists, so I'm not really worried about landing lights and strobes at this time. Oh, you know what? We are taxiing at about 20 knots, so let's slow that down a little bit. Don't want to slide off the taxiway. Snow in the western New York region is no joke. We don't want to play around with it. .15 knots of ground speed is probably a nice and safe speed to go. And there's a little bit of an interesting hotspot coming here. So this taxiway, the way that they have the runway set up is very strange. So the runway 28 approach area crosses Delta, but it's not actually runway 28. But you might confuse Delta 4 over here for something else and wind up on the 28 approach area, which you don't want to do. So it's one thing to just keep in mind if you're ever flying at this airport, is all of the different weird intersections going on over here. But we will be making a slight left turn on Delta 4 to line up with runway 28 instead of accidentally continuing forward and going on to 4. 24 is not long enough for us, so. Alright, so we're ready to enter the runway. The landing lights are coming on. We'll go ahead and arm the auto throttle. And we'll turn on heading mode for now. Level change. And we will take off into the snowstorm. Christmas in July, baby. Here we go. Probably could give it a little more power than that. Oh, you know what? The auto throttle did something. Oh, you know what? I put level change on, and the autopilot didn't like that, so... Okay. Note to self. Wait until after takeoff in the MAX for that. So we'll make a nice hard turn, line up with the runway. Give ourselves about 40%, let the engine stabilize. Alright, engines are stable. We're going toga thrust. Maybe. Oh, you know what? I have to rearm the auto throttle. Duh. Come on, baby. There we go. Yikes, that took a little bit too much runway to do, but we're alright. I'm a mess. Alright, 80 knots, cross check. Looks good. And look at that, we're already V1 rotate. Nice and easy. Alright, we have a positive rate, gears coming up. And now we will arm level change. Into N1 mode as well. Okay, we're going to lower the nose now that we're about 2,500 feet. Pick up some speed so we can start taking out flaps. Flaps can go to 1. And we'll turn on the autopilot. We will redirect to our waypoint and our MelNav. Oh, what is happening here? You know what? Let's go to VNav.
Airspeed, low.
Yep.
Airspeed, low.
I forgot that I set the speed to 160, so that could have been dangerous, but we fixed it pretty quick. And we took flaps out, so our stall speed increased by quite a bit too at that. Alright, let's clean the flaps up. And now that the gear is up, we'll turn the auto brake to off. And now we are VNav and LNav, and we will monitor the climb. Looking to be right on course though, so that's good. Going to be climbing at 250 knots initially. Alright, and we are getting above the cloud layer now. There it is, 10,000 feet. Landing lights are coming off. Taxi light off. And notify the flight attendants. Look at that, 280 knots, and I'm kind of curious what our VNav has us doing here. So target climb speed is 281, and then Mach 0.73. That looks about normal. Our cost index was 12, so we're looking for a cruise speed of 0.73, which is pretty good because we're on a pretty short flight, so we want to go slower, give passengers the chance to move about if they do need to do that. And our descent, we're looking at Mach 0.73 and 252 knots. Let's I'm going to take a peek at our arrival first thing to make sure that we're not going to need to go any faster, because there's a lot of arrivals that do have 280 knot speed restrictions. Star Lendy 8, there we go. Nope, no 280 knot restrictions, so excuse me. Speed restriction applicable to turboprop and turbojet. Yep, aircraft capable of operating at 250 knots or greater. So at flight level 190, when we cross over Lendy, we want to be at 250 knots, and it appears that speed is our discretion up until that point, and the only other restriction we have is a flight level 230 restriction at Geno. So we'll keep that in mind. Cool. And even though the preset altimeter is standard, which I just realized the altimeter here was not in inches of mercury, we're still going to hit standard because the plane, as you saw, wants us to do so. Oh, and we are picking some radar signatures. Let's go ahead and increase the range on that. Yeah, there's no way that radar is reaching 160 miles. Interesting. Okay. Alright, and the total air temperature is coming up on that minus 30 degrees Celsius, and there is no visible moisture. So let's go up top here, turn off our engine anti-ice. Okay, lights are on and off. They extinguish good, and we will put the ignitions back to off. Wing inspection lights can come off as well. And we should have a little bit of an increase in power. So now we're climbing at 2,100 feet per minute, which is good. And it looks like we have just over 80 nautical miles from top of climb to top of descent, which should be just enough time for the passengers to move about as they wish, so that's good. assuming that the turbulence doesn't go crazy, which right now the plane's kind of rocking, which is interesting for this particular preset. I don't think I've ever run into turbulence, but maybe it's also the aircraft. Alright. Oh, that's terrain data? This whole time I thought it was weather. Oops. Well, we're going to turn this off, and then we will have the right side on weather. Assuming that that works at all. Okay. Interesting. Top of climb is coming very shortly. Huh. The screen's just auto-dimmed. You know what I did forget to do? Just come up here and turn the dome light off. Silly, silly me. Okay. One thing that I do want to do is, I think that the weather changed on me a little bit from what I set it to before loading in, which is kind of aggravating because I wanted to have a very specific setting there. I wanted the ceiling to be lower so we could get a real test to our instrument skills. And we are 1,000. Well, actually, we're closer to cruise than 1,000. We're actually just about there. Alright, we have reached our cruise altitude of 31,000 feet. The air does appear to be smooth as butter up here at cruise, so we'll get the fasten seatbelt signs off so people can move about. Alright, so once again, 10 likes on this video, and a giveaway can ensue, and they can get one lucky viewer will get their hands on the new Flight FX Citation 10 for the flight simulator. Again, people seem to be really enjoying it. It seems to be pretty decent for the low cost compared to other, you know, study level aircraft or whatever. I watched Kip on the ground fly it for a while, and he seems to be doing all right with it. Seems like a nice plane. A Citation 10 is a really cool plane, and it could be yours if we get 10 likes on the video. And again, the giveaway will initiate on during cruise on the return leg back to Niagara Falls. For now, we're in cruise. Let's sit back, relax, enjoy the flight, and we have not a long cruise, but enough to chill. So we'll see you in a minute. Enjoy. Alright, so top of descent is already coming very shortly, so let's go ahead and prepare ourselves for that. Now, as previously stated, we have our flight restriction at Geno of being at flight level 230. So let's go ahead and set that on the altitude bug. Like so. Cool. Flight level 230 and our VNav is armed, and I do believe that the 737 MAX does automatically descend. At least I hope so. On top of descent, we're going to test and see how that performs today. Since we're not on VATSIM, we can just kind of test it a little bit and see what we're up to here. We did decide that we are landing on runway 31 left. So let's go to the JFK airport, pull up that approach plate, and get ourselves set up nice and early so we can stay ahead of the aircraft. That is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for JFK. If you want to go ahead and pull up JFK, that'd be cool. Yeah, there we go. Open charts. We're looking for the approach, and we do have the ILS 31 left. There we go. So let's pull that up for ourselves. And first thing we're going to do is tune the ILS frequency, which is 111.35. So we'll come down here. Not there. Come down here, and we're looking for 111.35. So we'll set that on both nav radios. 111.35. Go to nav 2. Same thing. And now we see that those are both set. They're both in ILS mode, which is good. The final approach course is 314. So we will set that in our autopilot. There we are. And the next part is going to be the minimums, which is 213 feet, which is really nice because if I remember correctly, these minimums set very slowly. So going all the way to, nope. Nope. And you can't even click and drag either, so you have to very slowly, oh, you know what? We want to go to barrel. Interesting. So 213, and we're going to verify that. Yep, 213. And the last thing we're going to do is set the VREF and our flap setting. So we are doing the flaps 30 landing. Control 4, yeah, there we go. Message, drag required. Oh, okay. That's fine. We don't need drag right now. We'll watch that once we get done with this. So let's go to the init ref page. We'll go to index, approach, and we are looking for at flaps 30, 144, but we're going to add 5 to that. So our VREF is going to be 149 to keep ourselves from accidentally stalling or something of that nature. So flaps 30, 149 are our VREF speed, and that's set for us. And we're going to verify on the PFD that we have both of those things. So we have our VREF and our flap setting, and we have our baro minimums for this approach. And based off of the weather that I set, we should be getting a full-blown instrument approach, and we should break out relatively low. So I'm kind of excited for that one. And it does actually auto-descend when we want it to, which is cool, but you know what, we do need some drag because it has us hitting flight level 230 a little bit late here, so that's my bad. And then we'll go back to our charts here. Get back onto the Lendy 8. And I keep forgetting that I have a wide screen, but I changed the parameters on the stream. So We're going to be a little bit high when we hit Geno, which is going to be okay because we have plenty of time to make up for that, because we only have 4,000 feet to lose in just about 50 plus miles, so that's fine. We'll leave the VNAV to it, and since we are coming up on Geno now, we'll just go ahead and set the altitude to flight level 190. And we want to be there by Lendy. And the airplane seems to be doing its thing just fine. And now that we are descending, the total air temperature is going to start increasing. So we're going to get more into icing territory. So we're going to come up here. Engine ignitions are going back to continuous. And we will turn on the engine anti-ice. Good. And we will monitor from there and make sure everything runs smoothly. All right. And while we're in the air, let's go ahead and... Oh my goodness, I never turned the APU off. Wow, that's an embarrassing move. You know what's funny is I felt like I was forgetting something on the before taxi flow. Whew. Oops. Now that door is probably just stuck open. In real life, I bet you that probably would have flown off. Whoopsie daisy. Oh well. Anyway, let's get the external view. Look at our red nose livery for Christmas in July. Again, 10 likes equals a giveaway. So let's get going on that, shall we? And you know what, actually, we really don't need drag anymore, so let's stow those speed brakes. You know what? That door closed. I wonder if the EGT has to be a certain temp before that door closes. Interesting. Alright, we're going to go back inside as we're starting to approach Lendy here. And we're going to take a peek at this ILS chart one more time and see if there's anything that we have to do, because I do know that for the ILS, for the 2.2s, there's some interesting wraparound in waypoints, but in this case, it doesn't seem to exist, so you know what? Screw it. We're going to change our runways, and we're going to do runway 22 right. LS 22 right. We're going to go to legs and verify that everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. So we're direct to Lendy, and we're going to bring that up top, and then we'll hit this discontinue here. And we'll start it at Kimball. So you know what, let's go back. So we want ILS 22 right, and we want to start it at Kimball. There we go, now we're looking normal. Go back to our legs page here, so we got Lendy, LaGuardia. Okay. So now this is looking exactly how we want it to look. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to get rid of the LaGuardia waypoint here. And we'll just go direct to Kimball. And now we have a nice smooth wraparound here to runway 22 right. Alright, cool. So now we have to do some changing around here because we switched runways. So let's go ahead and we're going to 109.5 for our ILS. Which we have on both sides. It registers as an ILS, and we're looking at a course of 221, so we'll get that on both sides. And our VREF and our flap setting is going to remain the same. So that's one less thing to worry about, but we do have to alter everything else. We'll zoom in on the map as well so we get a better, more broader view. Okay, 221, and the last thing is we're going to double check our minimums here, and our minimums are going to be 263. So we're going to come to the PFD and just change those. very slowly. $263. All right. We are reconfigured for landing, and we have our intended runway in sight here. Cool. So now we're going to drop this down the altitude. And do we have any altitude restrictions here? So we want to be at 3,000 by Corvette, which I assume that is. So we'll bring this down to 3,000, and we will reset our VNAV to make sure the aircraft starts descending. And there's of course the possibility that drag will be required here. 737s don't like to slow down too much. Alright, so we're looking very good there. And we're going to verify that our anti-ice is in the on position, which they are. Everything looks good there. Alright. Now the reason that I changed runways is because for the ILS 3-1 left, I believe it was, there was just some weird... It was a little too short, and I didn't want to vector myself over the city when there's a bunch of skyscrapers and stuff like that. This ILS 2-2 left, coming from the northwest, gives us a path to go over and a nice gradual descent to the runway, because flight level 190 at Lendy is pretty high. And we would have to make a pretty rapid descent to get onto the ILS 3-1 left, but this one extends that descent a little bit, because Lendy is pretty close to the GFK airport, so that's really interesting. But now we have mitigated that risk. We won't be dive bombing the runway, and we are good to go here. So now what I want to do is, we're below 18,000, so we'll flip over to 29902, which we know is the universal altimeter for the entire world, because this is a weather preset in the sim. And we notified flight attendants that we were on final descent. Alright. And now we let the plane do its thing for a while, and just monitor as we go. Alright, so we got a bit of a decel coming up. We're going to want to slow down, and I'm assuming that we're going to want some drag, because again it is a 737. I'm just curious what speeds we have written here. We don't really have any major slowdowns. It has us 240 knots all the way to Corvette, which is way too fast. So now that we're at a decel point here, we're at 10,000 feet. I'm actually going to hit it with a speed intervention, and we're going to slow down to 210 knots. And we are going to introduce some drag, and since we are at 10,000, the landing lights are coming on, and I'm just going to throw the taxi light on now because we are essentially clearing ourselves to land. And any minute now we should be in the clouds. Which actually I do believe we're in the clouds right now. And we'll leave those on flash for now. Look at that. Yeah, we are deep in the clouds, and I think I may have set the density just a little high, so let's bring that down by just a little bit. Okay, we can take our drag out because we are slowing down just fine. Alright, density is reduced a little bit. It still kind of looks the same though, so maybe that's not it. That's okay though, that looks kind of cool. It's extremely dark, but I kind of like the glowing we got going on here. Probably doesn't look as good on the stream as it does in front of me on a LG Ultra Gear, but it's pretty cool looking. Alright, gonna zoom out just to see where we are, and then we're gonna maintain 210 knots for now, but as we start turning to the left, perpendicular to our final approach course, we'll start slowly introducing flaps, and we'll come back to a 180 knot speed until we're on a 10-mile final. Then we'll start introducing our landing configuration and go from there. And we are at 10,000, so cam's coming. Ooh, excuse me. Cam is coming on. We're getting ready to do this. And since our VREF speed is 149 knots, I think I'm just going to go with a straight 150, make it nice and easy on the eyes. That's what I was trying to say. A little easier to maintain than 149, because 150 has a tick mark. Alright, so we're about to descend through 7,000 and we're making that left turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop to flaps 1, which is introducing the slats. And then we'll just keep it there for now. And once we cross over, I'm not even sure what waypoint that is. Once we cross over Leafer, whatever that is, we'll go flaps 5, and then we'll start slowing down to 180 and get ourselves configured more for landing. What I think I am going to do is when we make this turn and we roll out wings level, I'm going to engage the approach mode and let it follow the ILS, because it almost looks like the GPS and all that has a little bit of an offset here. It doesn't look that way on the chart, but can never be too careful, really. And since the conditions are pretty low IFR, well, I wouldn't say, it might be low IFR, visibility is probably at a mile or less. Given the snow, it was definitely pretty rough coming out of Niagara Falls, and it should be the same here. Alright, so we are picking up the localizer. The white diamond is showing up, and now it's on the correct side. Glide slope hasn't come in yet, but I will be expecting that shortly, and we are coming through 5,000. So we'll see what heading this has us on, and we'll go into heading mode, and then we'll arm approach mode and begin what we need to begin. Okay. So let's reduce the range to 10 miles. We're going to go flaps 5. And let's slow down to 200 knots just to make sure we're not in that caution range like it's putting us here. Okay, so it has us on a heading at 270, so we'll go heading select. And then from heading select, we will arm approach mode because we do have a glide slope coming in for us. And we will engage command B now that we armed approach mode and we have both sides of the aircraft loaded up for this approach. And the white diamonds are where the ILS is relative to us, but is not currently active. But once it becomes active, these diamonds will turn magenta, and we will be tracking the ILS. And we're coming up on that turn very shortly, so let's go ahead and slow to 180 knots. And then once we intercept that localizer, we are pretty much on glide slope, so I will be dropping the gear. So let's go ahead and drop that gear. Okay, so we got 3 greens down here. We got 3 greens up top. We're going to set the auto brakes to 2 because it is a snowy, slick runway. So we're going to go a little bit less on the brakes just to make sure we don't skid or anything like that. And then if we can, I might have to go to the overhead view for this. Turn the dome light on just to arm the speed brakes real quick. Okay, those are armed. Hopefully that works. Okay, and we're on a 10-mile final, so now let's slow down to about 160, and we'll go flaps 15.
2,500.
And this is a night IFR approach, so this is going to be really, really fun. I'm going to get ready to take over the controls here. Alright, now let's slow down to 150. We'll go flaps 25, and then on a 5-mile final we'll go flaps 30. And there's the snow that we're looking for. That's pretty cool. We're on localizer, we're on glide slope, and we'll verify the gears down. We'll go ahead and drop flaps 30 now. Alright, gears down, flaps 30. Speed brake is armed as stated by the dash. We'll see if those actually deploy. They should, but we'll see. And I'm also wondering if my autopilot disconnect is going to work because it doesn't seem to like to function on certain airplanes. It works on the PMDG just fine. It didn't work on the CRJ the last time I used it, so that sucked. And then I think it doesn't like to work on the Max, so we'll have to find out. I guess I'll keep my mouse on this just in case. But let's go ahead and disarm auto throttle. Okay. And we will keep our speed
1,000.
manually. And it was roughly about there, 53% N1. I like it, so we'll keep it there. And we're still very much in the soup. I do have ground contact, so that's a good sign. Yep, just kind of lost it, so maybe not. Again, minimums are 264, I believe. Nope, 263. That doesn't really matter. Oh, there's ground contact yet again. Oh, kind of losing it. Sort of coming back.
400. 300.
Oh,
Approaching minimums.
yep.
Minimum 200.
Yep, okay, so the
Sync
ILS
rate.
was offset a little bit. That was interesting.
Glide slow. 100.
Yep, let's get back.
Glide slow. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Nice and greasy. Hey, look at that. That was a smooth touchdown. Now, normally, I would have obviously gone around, but this is a sim and we're testing stuff here. We got 2 in reverse. Turned out to be a buttery smooth landing anyway. I highly recommend going around if you find yourself that off of the center line. Okay, are the speed brakes up or down? Oh, they're stowed now. Cool. Neat. Alright, let's go ahead and get that APU started. We'll go ahead and clean up our flaps here. And we're turning onto this taxiway here. We're just going to get our airport info ready for us. And the taxiways are a little bit covered in snow, which is kind of cool to see. Alright, so this is just going to be pretty much a straight shot down, and we'll just park at whatever gate we want to park at. Cool. Oh, we are going pretty fast. Alright, landing lights are coming off. Oops. Wrong direction. Strobes are coming off. Wing inspection lights coming off. Oh, you know what? I never flipped the freaking strobes anyway. Oops. Let's go ahead and get the yaw damper. Oops, the wrong one. Yaw damper off for now. Oh, and we're crossing inactive, so let's go ahead and get those landing lights and strobe lights on. And it's a little bit of a left turn here, it seems. And we're just getting a flight continuity disagree because we turned off the yaw damper, but we're on the ground, so that's okay. So I don't know, something seems pretty wonky with the ILS at JFK. If I do recall, I flew to JFK once in the past and had the same issue with this ILS on the runway, and it was totally visual conditions, but I was still somehow offset even though I had the needles centered, so interesting. Keep that in mind flying into JFK and Microsoft Flight Sim. I wonder if you buy a scenery, if that basically fixes itself. I would imagine so. Oh, you know what? Landing lights off, strobes off. Because we're no longer on a runway. Just gonna turn and we're just gonna find the closest jetway parked there and get ourselves ready for the second flight. I have no idea what terminal this is, who flies here or whatever, but today is just having a lot of fun. Christmas in July. Okay, so we'll park at this first one. There seems to be, oddly enough, some trucks just randomly kind of laying about, but, you know. So I'm looking for the line, and I do think I have it in sight. I do, so let's turn off the taxi lights so we're not blinding any ground crew. And I'm hoping that for once I was able to do this correctly from inside of the cabin. After we shut down, we'll definitely check. Alright, parking brake is going to be set. Cool. Let's go ahead and get these dome lights on so we can see. We're going to shut down the engines. Oops. I forgot to turn on the APU generators. Oh boy. I used to be better about that. Alright, fuel pumps are all coming off except for left forward for the APU. We have a positive generation from the APU. We'll get the APU bleed on just so the passengers can stay warm. As we get the door open, good. Everything's looking good there. Window heats will keep on since it's cold outside and we want some window heat. Probe heats shut themselves off. That's good. We never turn the engine anti-ice off. That's my mistake. Hydraulic pumps are coming off, electric anyway. And packs are on, ISOL valve will open, and APU bleed. And the beacon can get shut off as well. And now we are in a turnaround state. Alright, let's go ahead and use the pushback tool to get our jetway connected, which it is doing for us. And lastly, we will use the very difficult to navigate EFB here to open the passengers' doors. Oh, and actually it automatically opened for us. Cool. Alright, let's see how we did on this line. Ooh. Oh yeah. Alright, that's pretty dang beautiful. Look at that. Oh yeah. Sweet. Alright. Fun, fun, fun. Alright. Welcome to New York City, the Christmas capital of the United States. The Rockefeller Christmas tree in Times Square and all that stuff. Again, Christmas in July equals a possible giveaway. I got 15 views, but I only have 2 likes. 8 more likes and some people tuning in, and a giveaway will ensue. And again, I am giving away the Flight FX Citation 10 for Microsoft Flight Sim, because again, people seem to be liking it. It seems like a decent plane for the price, so I want to do something for the community if they decide to join. So we're going to make the return flight back to Niagara Falls in the same snowy conditions to keep up with the theme, but I think I am going to bring it back to daytime because I just kind of want to fly during the day. That was a really cool late night IFR approach, and we just barely made minimums. I would never continue the approach if we were that offset from the center line. I had to do a little bit of a, sidestep type action to get aligned with the runway at the very last second, which is incredibly dangerous. But again, it's a sim. We're testing some stuff out. I think the localizer path and all that for this airport is a little bit off in this game. So, yeah. And my autopilot disconnect button is also not working for this aircraft, so that did not help either. Cool. So I'm going to throw it on the Be Right Back screen, and we're going to make the return flight during the day back to Niagara Falls, and we should get to 10 likes. And if we get to 10 likes during cruise on this return leg, we will initiate the giveaway. So we'll see you in a little bit. All right. We are back. I gotta say, I'm kind of shocked. 17 views. Not one of you wanted a giveaway. Unreal. Just playing with y'all. I thought I'd give it a shot, and it might be on the table for a future stream. So it's not a one and done type deal, but I thought I'd give it a shot. You know, the Christmas in July theme was mainly to maybe highlight hinting at a giveaway or something like that, but you know, whatever, it's all good. I'm just kind of enjoying myself, and even though people, you know, don't want the giveaway or whatever, I do appreciate the 17 views. That's actually pretty freaking sweet. So thank you to all of you guys who stopped in and took a quick view, even if you're not still here. I actually really appreciate it. Even though you guys stop by really quick, it does help up the numbers, and I like that. Thank you. So we are at JFK at the same gate that we pulled into, and we are going to make the return flight back to Niagara Falls in the red nose livery, again to keep up with the Christmas and July theme, just because you know, I wanted to do something different from the normal, like, VATSIM, live flight, live weather thing. Wanted to do something a little bit different, and another thing that I want to do for future streams is have a GA Madness stream where everyone can get together and we all hop online and we just fly GA aircraft and have some fun. Maybe do some airport hopping or something like that across the country. So that's another thing that's going to be in store. I don't know if I want to do it once a week, once a month, whatever, but the GA Madness thing sounds like fun because I do love GA, and I am a flight instructor in GA aircraft, so it would make more sense to, you know, fly those things every once in a while, but I do love my airliners and airline flights and all that stuff, so that's really cool. Anyway, we're going to go back to Niagara Falls, and if we can get the 10 likes during cruise on this leg, we will initiate a giveaway. So stay tuned, and let's make our way back across the state of New York. So we'll go back inside, and we're in a turnaround state, and we'll get the camera back on and get ready to go. All right. Coming to the overhead panel here, we're just going to verify that everything right now is where we want it. Everything is how we left it. We'll turn the yaw damper back on just to verify that that still works, which it does. Everything looks good here. APU, we're getting positive charge on the electronics. Excellent. Oh, you know what I did forget to do was turn these things on. Those are necessary. You know, I get in the habit of the way that the PMDG is set up, so when I fly this, I keep forgetting to actually check things. I just, you know, look it over, and these are automatically on in PMDG, not so much in the MAX. I have to remember to turn those on, so note to self. Cool, so we're on the APU generator, that's good. We'll turn on the fasten seatbelt signs, so when passengers are on board, they fasten in and they're ready to go. The window heat is on, which is good because it's cold outside. Probe heats are in auto. Hydraulic pumps, electrics are off for now. We're good here. The pack temperature is 80 degrees, so we're providing some warmth to the passengers back there. Now we have a cruise altitude of flight level 360. Honestly, I think that's a little too high for the short duration of this flight, so I think I'm just going to go to flight level 320. Again, I did sim brief it for you know, live weather and stuff, but we'll just we'll stop at flight level 320. Landing elevation at Niagara Falls is 592, so we'll go ahead and put that to 600. Please excuse the phone. 600 feet. There we go. And if y'all don't mind, just stand by one. Alright, my apologies. My lovely girlfriend gave me a quick call and wanted to say hi. So now we're back to it. So like I said, cruise altitude is going to be 32,000 feet, so we'll set the altitude bug to that. 8 million scrolls later. Oop, and then I go too high when I stop paying attention. Cool. And we'll take off runway 22 again, just to set ourselves up for a more feasible path towards Niagara Falls. We'll put this back to 160, and we'll remember that that's the speed we set after takeoff. That's one thing I kind of screwed up leaving Niagara Falls was I forgot that this was set to 160, and I was in level change mode, and I retracted the flaps and got a stall warning indication, so we'll not do that this time. We'll turn the flight directors off just to recycle them, and everything looks good here. Autopilot panel is set. Just verify that if I can get the views correct. The thrust lever quadrant's looking good. The radios are all looking good. We're still squawking 2,000, and we'll just stay in TARA to keep that in practice for when we fly on VATSIM. And everything looks good, so let's go to the FMC, just plug in some info there. One thing I do want to do is verify our position, make sure that that data is still there. The reference airport is JFK. And we'll go to the next page, and it does look like we do have a position already set for us, so that's good. Go to route. We're coming from JFK. We're going to Niagara Falls. And once again, we are red nose 725. So we'll do that again using reserve fuel. Oh, you know what? Yeah, because we didn't set that yet. Duh. Okay. So we do not have a departure out of JFK. We're just going direct to Gale, which we'll go to the departure page, and we'll do the JFK 5, and we're taking off from runway 22 right. That's good. Go back to route. We'll activate, execute that, go to the next page, and vectors to Gale, which is Golf, Alpha, Yankee, Echo, Lima. And then we're taking an airway this time, so we're doing Quebec 818, Quebec 818, so we'll throw that on the left side here, and then we're taking that all the way to Wozy, which is an interesting setup because we are landing runway 28, and I think that Wozy would put us passing Niagara Falls. So we're just gonna double check our route when we're done here, and maybe modify it as necessary before we set this path in stone. So we'll go to Niagara Falls, and we're gonna do the ILS Yankee 28 right, and what I think I'm gonna do is just look on Navigraph to help us determine this a little bit. So we are taking a Quebec route, which is a high altitude airway. We'll get rid of this chart, come back up here to Niagara Falls like so, click on it, we'll open the charts, look at the approach plate for what is considered 28 right, but it's not, it's just 28. Yeah, well, they got rid of okay, I don't know what they're doing there, but sure beats me. Oh wow, they put it over the map. I didn't want that. Oh well. So it starts at, what is this waypoint right here? You know what? Emmen. I think we'll start at Emmen, so we'll try and find a way to vector ourselves here. So let's go to IFR high, and we're looking for Quebec 818, which is right over here. And I do want to see where Emmen is. I'm actually not sure. Oh, you know what? I got to do FAA IFR high. That's Y. And I do not believe that Emmen is a waypoint, so on the high chart. So let's look at the low. And we do have MN over here. So Elroy... So this is one thing that whenever we're doing IFR flight planning, you definitely have to look at the route and analyze it and see if it makes sense. And I'm familiar with the Buffalo area, and I know that Wozy is somewhere on the other side of, or actually it's right on top of Buffalo Niagara, and oh, you know what? It's right on top of Buffalo Niagara. I'm thinking that it's on the other side of Niagara Falls. So you know what we will do, actually? We'll go, the route is filed, and then we'll turn northbound towards, I believe that's Cathy? Yeah, towards Cathy, and we will make that procedure turn to try and help us intercept the ILS a little bit better, just to keep ourselves safe, because we're not using ATC, and we are going to be in hard IFR, and we don't want to hit anything, so we're going to use this procedure turn to our advantage, and the minimum safe altitude is 3,700, so we'll maintain 3,700 after Wozy, and then descend from 3,700 down to 2,000 in the procedure turn, and then we will execute the ILS from there. Alright, I like that idea. We're going to stick to that. Oops. We'll hide that. Oops. We'll search here. It's probably just easier to do the search, honestly. So we'll get our airport diagram on standby here. Minimize that. And then we're going to do ILS Yankee 28 right. Oh, and the only transition is M and... Okay. So we're going to have to do this procedure turn by hand, I believe. You know what? Screw it. We'll, let's go ahead and look at our legs page and see what that gives us. So, Gale, and then we're following it all the way to Wozy, and then CFMCD, which, let's go back to the Niagara Falls approach. India Alpha is Cathy, so you know what? Okay, so when we cross over Wozy, we'll stay at 3,700. And then once we cross over this fix, I'm not even going to try and make a name for that, we'll descend down to 2,000 so we can intercept the glide slope from there, although that's not a lot of distance, so I don't know if I like that. You know what we'll do? Is we'll put in a hold at Cathy. So let's go ahead and take Cathy, put it up here, execute, and then when we are ready to make that procedure turn, we will just put a hold at Cathy here, and that will be our procedure turn. I like that idea. That seems to be the smartest way to go about things. It's a little more complex, requires a little more work, but we're here for it, so let's do it. Sorry that that took so long. I just was very confused by the routing, but it all worked out. So our zero fuel weight is 133.7. Nope. Yeah, I didn't want that. I don't even know what that is, to be honest with you. 133 point... I'm sorry, not 79. Okay, 133.9. That puts our gross weight at 145.1, which totally makes sense. That's good. Our reserves for the day are going to be 4.3. Like so. Cost index for this flight is going to be 15. Cruise altitude is flight level 320 instead of 360 like SimBrief wants us to do. And again, we don't really know any of the cruise wind data or anything like that because this is preset for the sim, so we'll ignore that. And one limit, again, we'll just do a select temp of 45. Do a D-rated takeoff because we have plenty of runway to do so. Ooh. Excuse me. Flaps 5 and CG trim, which auto sets for us, which is really, really cool of the MAX. And we will set our V speeds. All right, 137, 138, 146. It looks good to me. All right. So now that everything is set, go to our legs page here, and I believe we're ready for pushback, despite all of that confusion with our routing. So that's good. Everything looks good up here, down here. Love to see it. All right. Let's go ahead and get ourselves ready for pushback. Oh man, I keep thinking this is the PMDG. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and turn our fuel pumps on, verify there's nothing in the center tank, which there is not, so we'll leave those pumps off. We're going to go to Gen 1 for when the engines start. We'll get our generator data up here. We are currently on APU Gen, which is fine for engine start. Fasten seatbelt signs is on. Window heat is on. Probe heats are auto, so we'll make sure those extinguish on our before taxi. Anti-ice is off for now, but we will use that for takeoff yet again. Hydraulic pumps, the electric pumps are coming on, and we'll verify the pressure is in the green, which it is. Good. And cabin pressurization is good for there. ISOL valve is open. Packs can stay on for now until we're ready to actually start engines. And we will get the beacon on. Alright, so since we're in daylight, I'm actually going to turn the dome light off because we have plenty of view there. We'll go ahead and close the door. Okay, and we will use the pushback tool to release the jetway because, again, there really isn't a way to do that in the EFB on this aircraft. And the jet bridge is detaching. Good, love to see that. And we will go ahead and pre-plan our pushback. And we will just push right onto this taxiway right here because we have no traffic or anything like that, so we're good. Get it as straight on as possible because we're OCD like that. Looks good to me. And let's go ahead and request our pushback. And we are going to do everything right this time. And we're waiting for this release parking brake icon right here to pop up because, again, I don't really know why we're not getting audio, but at least we have some form of indication on what we need to do next. Okay, we're being lifted, so release parking brake should come up shortly. Alright, release the parking brake. Brakes released. Alright, and we'll look behind ourselves, make sure we're just clear and good to do an engine start, which this looks good to me. Go back inside. And we are going to turn the packs off. APU bleed is on. And let's go ahead and throw right ignition into ground. And we have a change in duct pressure. Oops. Start valve is open and N2 is rising. Alright, and the motoring has disappeared, so we're going to go ahead and flip the fuel, switch to idle, and monitor the engine start. That sound is actually really, really good. The default sound pack for the iFly Max is pretty decent. I will say that is kind of a one-up on PMDG. I love PMDG, but that is one thing that iFly kind of nailed compared to those guys. Alright, they're ready for brakes, so we'll hold the brakes. And brakes set. We'll let the tug lower us and detach. Alright, engine 2 is a good start. So let's go up top back here. Now we're going to put the left engine into ground. We have a change in duct pressure. The start valve is open, and N2 is rising. And we'll look for the tug to get out of our way here. And it looks like this is complete, so we'll get rid of the plug-in. Right, and motoring is complete. Introducing fuel. And our master caution has disappeared, which is good. Well, you know what I never did was turn the auto brake off. Oops. What was I thinking? And here I was thinking that I was going to do everything correctly this time. But that was kind of a mistake from the previous flight, so whatever. Alright, we have 2 good engine starts and the tug is out of our way. So let's go ahead and run our flows. Engine generators are coming on. And we have positive charge, which is really good. Probes are on. The probe heat's turned on. That's good. We are looking at engine anti-ice today, so ignition is to continuous. And we'll turn the anti-ice on. Lights light up and extinguish. Good. Hydraulic pumps are on. Good. Packs are coming on. We'll go to engine bleed. Turn the APU bleed off. ISOL valve to auto. And the APU is coming off this time. And we are going to turn our flight directors on. We are going to set flaps to 5. Auto brakes to RTO, and we will double check our flight controls. Full right, full left, elevator forward, elevator aft, full right, full left, rudder, and flight controls are free and correct. We'll get rid of that page, and we are ready to taxi. Alright, so let's go ahead and get that airport diagram back for JFK, just so I know where I'm going. And from here we're going to try and find hotel, and then we're just going to hop straight on to Bravo. And then Bravo, we're going to intersect with Echo here, and we'll take Echo to runway 22 right. Alright, so we'll keep that on standby just so I don't mess that up, because I know I probably will. But we're ready to taxi. And we'll try and be slower again this time, because these taxiways and runways are slick. It's a snowy one out here. Get ourselves a nice gradual acceleration going. One thing about the Max that I've realized when it comes to taxiing is these engines are so big and have so much power that on a normal, you know, taxiway that's like flat or whatever, it likes to taxi fast. Like, you can go engine power to idle and it will try and move on you, so that's all fun. So we're going to pass Alpha over here, and we're going to make a left turn on Bravo. here's our left turn. And we'll try and keep about 15 knots here. That seems feasible for the conditions. Actually kind of slowing down a little bit, so let's put a little extra power. Doesn't feel super slick on the taxi, so we could probably keep a little extra speed and be okay. Just don't want to quite be at 20, that's a little hot. Yeah, it really doesn't take much power at all to get these things going. I wasn't even at 40% and it wanted to suddenly cruise. Alright, so I'm just going to double check the intersection here that we're coming up on. Looks like it's making a slight left and we want to take our first right after this first intersection right here. And this is where we're turning right, and we should be on Echo, which I can verify by the taxiway sign we are on Echo. And we will be crossing 3-1 right shortly. Alright, we're crossing the active. We'll get our strobes and landing lights on. And we'll speed it up since we're crossing an active. I didn't realize how much we slowed down right there. And we take it to the end, and we're lined up for 2-2 right. Cool. We're going to go ahead and get the wing inspection lights on. Strobes are on, landing lights are on. We're good. We are configured for takeoff. I'm going to go ahead and arm the auto throttle. And we'll arm LNAV mode, because that has us on runway heading to begin with, which is what we will want to be. And let's enter the runway and get ourselves back to Niagara Falls. And we'll go 40% N1, look for engines to stabilize. That was probably about the better of lineups that I've done. Alright, engines are stable. Let's get toga thrust. A little bit of nose down pressure. Airspeed's alive. 80 knots, cross check. Don't want to get off center line here. Release nose pressure.
V1.
Wow, this thing got to rotate speed quick. Nice and easy lift. And we have a positive rate. Gears coming up. And we're right into the soup, so we're going to very closely watch the attitude indicator. Use trim to our advantage because this is wanting to nose up quite a bit. And let's go ahead and turn on the autopilot. If it would let us. I don't know why it's not letting us. Oh, you know why? Because this bar is still down. There we go. Still down from the previous flight. Alright. So we'll go flaps 1. We'll increase the speed to 210. Because that's about the flaps up speed. And then once that's cleared up, we will go to VNAV mode. Oh, we're on the plan page here too. That's not where I want to be. Zoom out a little bit on there as well. Alright, flaps are coming up. And let's go ahead and arm VNAV mode. Our flaps are totally up. So the gear is up. Auto brake is going to off. And let's go direct to Gale. Well, that's interesting. It's kind of behind us a little bit. Okay, that's fine. That looks a little more normal than I originally thought it was. Poking through that first layer. One thing that would probably help me too is going through the documents of this aircraft and pulling out a checklist, but this is the sim, so try to do as much from memory as possible and see if I have enough skill to just fly it. Alright, we're coming through the top layer of clouds here. Alright, that's 10,000 feet. Landing lights are coming off and taxi lights are coming off as well, and flight attendants have been notified. Look at that. Going through another puffer at 280 knots. And I do kind of want to take a peek at the V speeds, or not the V speeds, but the VNAV profile once again. So 280 knots, 0.74 for the climb, that looks good. 0.74 for cruise is also good. And 0.745/251. Fine by me. I am fully on board with that. Look at that, and we're through the topmost layer as we climb ourselves to flight level 320. I was initially confused when this had us at such a hard right at first, but I totally forgot my orientation. I forgot that we were 220, and I was thinking along the lines of 270, which is straight west. I don't know why, but this makes more sense. We're heading north, which is where we want to be for this airway, so confusion absolutely unnecessary. Alright, flight level 180. Once we get the prompt on the plane, we'll go ahead and switch to standard. There we go. Alright. Now we sit back and monitor throughout the climb. Everything is looking good so far. You know, one thing that I did not do at all last flight was heading sync, so we will do that this time. One thing I'm going to do right now is look at that ILS approach for Niagara Falls and get the minimums set early because it takes so long to scroll. I wish that they had a way to speed that up. Maybe it does and I just don't know how to find it, but okay, so we got that. Minimums are 838, so we're just going to keep on scrolling until we see that. Oh, it's going to take a while to get there. There's got to be an option for speed scroll. You know what? Now would be the time to actually look into it and see. So system page, go back. It's under panel style, miscellaneous. No, we don't want that. Oh, auto set trim is an option. Oh, maybe it's not a 737 MAX thing. It's just a setting on this sim aircraft. Okay. Not exactly what I'm looking for. Either I'm just really terrible at using this aircraft, or there is no way to get the speed scroll to work, if it's even an option. So 838, right. So I guess we'll just keep scrolling until we get there. Okay, that's set for us. Cool. One less thing to do on our descent. Back is getting a little stiff over here. Alright, we'll try and get a little bit of a heading sync going for us here. And you know what? Total air temperature is negative 40 degrees Celsius, and we are out of visible moisture, so the anti-ice can come off. It probably could have come off a while ago. It's just hard to think about in the middle of July. And the ignition switches are going to off. We should get a slight increase in climb performance, which we do. A couple hundred feet per minute right off the bat, anyway. Alright, 1,000 to go. And same deal, just above 80 miles, probably about 90 miles between top of climb and top of descent, so we'll keep an eye on that, and it gives us just enough time to move about the cabin if need be. Alright, cruise altitude of flight level 320, and we'll just make sure that we're not experiencing any rough air, which it looks pretty stable to me, so let's go ahead and get those fasten seatbelt signs off, and feel free to move about the cabin. Alright, so Still only at 2 likes despite 20 views, but that's okay. If I miraculously get 10 likes throughout cruise, then we'll do the giveaway before I descend. If not, if I somehow miraculously get 10 likes before the end of the stream, we'll do the giveaway before the stream officially ends. So stay tuned, but we're in cruise right now, so kick back, relax, and let's shoot for 10 likes, and we'll be right back to it. Alright, so we have already reached 20 miles before our top of descent, so we're going to start getting stuff ready here. The localizer frequency we'll put in both of our nav radios. We're looking at 110.1. Show you guys what I'm doing here. So 110.1, we'll flip that to active. We got that here, ILS, and we'll put that in nav 2 as well. We got 110.1 in both sides. Excellent. Next thing is the final approach course, which we're looking at 280 on the dot, which is really cool. Not a lot of approaches you get that are right on the money like that. So 280. Oop, a little too much there. Alright, 280. And then the last thing is we're going to grab our VREF speed, so we'll go to ref, and it looks like it's already loaded for us. So at 30 flaps 30, we're going to do 141 on our VREF, so we're going to add 5, and it's going to look 146. So flaps 30, 146, verify that that pops up on our PFD, which it does over here. Excellent, cool. Now we'll prepare for the descent by setting our altitude bug to that 3,700 minimum safe altitude. Based off of the direction we're coming from. $3,700, there we go. So VNAV should automatically descend for us. And since we are about to descend, we'll throw on those fasten seat. Oop, that's not the right one. Fasten seatbelt signs right there. And everyone should get back to their seats, buckle up, and prepare for descent. Let's see how many likes we are on this stream. Nope, and we're still only 2. Oh well. That is a-okay. 22 viewers is pretty good. I don't think I've ever had that during a stream, so I thoroughly enjoy seeing that number go up. That is a start. So to the 22 people who joined in and gave me a view, thank you very much. Feel free to come back. Lots of good content on here. I'm looking for content that people want to see, so let me know. But again, thanks for tuning in. Like I said, 22 views is pretty good for me, so I do appreciate that. Alright, our descent should begin soon. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in the procedure turn, if I could speak, by hand. And I'm going to do it at this angle. Okay. So we are descending, which is good. Okay. So we're going to come over here. We're going to go to hold. And, oh, it already has the hold fixed for us. India Alpha, which is Kathy. So it knows that we want to do that, which is good. The inbound course... So I think that it knows that the procedure turn is there, and it wants us to, and it basically had it ready for us, which is really, really cool. So we're looking at the fix, which is India Alpha, which is Kathy over here, and the inbound course is 280, and it's right turns, which is accurate. And we are going to do 1 minute legs because this is a localizer hold, not a GPS hold, so standard is 1 minute, so we'll keep that there. The speed that we want to do this at, we're going to go ahead and do it at 180 knots, since it is really close to the airport and we want to be ready for our final approach speed pretty quickly upon exiting this procedure turn. So we'll do 180 knots. And then our altitude, we're going to try and go for 2,000. So we'll slap that on in there. That looks good. The EFC time, we're not going to worry about just because we're only doing a procedure turn. We're not actually like holding, so we don't really need an EFC time here. Let's go. Let's execute it and then verify on our legs page that we have it there. So it didn't show up on the legs page. So I guess what I do want to do is go to the map here. Let's look at our plan and see if we're able to zoom in here. Oops, wrong way. So it didn't really put that hold in for us. Okay. So we want to hold east on the 100 radial, so let's see if that does it for us. Oh, you know what? I know what's happening. This is for the missed approach. We have to actually select this one and then put the information in there. Okay, now I know what's going on here. Okay, so we're keeping it right turns, but we want to be on the 280 inbound course. What? Invalid entry. Okay. So let's try this. We want to hold east on 100. Okay, there we go. So we have to put in the quad radial. So we're holding east because we're on the east side of this fix at 100, which is the radial that we're on, not the inbound course. The inbound course is 280, which is facing the runway, which is good. 1 minute legs is good. Our target speed, we're going to want 180, and we're going to want to do that at 2,000. So let's adjust that. Put that there, and again we don't need EFC, so let's execute that, and let's make sure we do. Okay, now we're starting to look good. Okay, so that's why it looked like that, was because that was actually for the missed approach. That was not for the procedure turn that I wanted to do. Duly noted. So we'll go to the next page here, and we do have the hold that we're looking for painted right here, and it looks exactly how it's supposed to look. So, sweet. We have ourselves a procedure turn. I love it. Nice. And seeing as how we are definitely about to go into hard IMC, that is actually really helpful to us, especially not having air traffic control, because they would just give us vectors, but since we don't have that and we want to maintain our own clearance from obstacles or traffic or whatever have you, that is how we're going to do it. And now we are guaranteed to be safe. I love it. Now I will say 1 minute hold is pretty light. So it is possible that we'll have to do a second lap in the event that we just don't lose enough altitude, but I don't think it'll come to that. We'll just have to monitor as we go. We are slowing down to 180 knots in that procedure turn, so slowing down should help us with losing altitude on time as we're executing that procedure turn. So we'll come up here, and we're throwing engines into continuous, and we will turn the anti-ice back on, because we are going to be in the soup in very real icing conditions pretty shortly once we get into this layer beneath us. And again, it is actively snowing underneath these clouds, so we'll keep that in mind and keep ourselves safe. Alright, we're a little less than 80 miles from Wozy now. And we're descending through flight level 220, so we're looking at a very good pace here. I like to see it. coming up on flight level 180, we're going to be flipping those altimeters back to 29902, which is standard, but once again, just because it's a preset, normally we'd find the local altimeter setting and switch it to so accordingly. So let's go ahead and switch that, 29902, advise the flight attendants of final descent. Sweet. Now that we are on final descent, cam is coming on. Hello. Alright. Making a slight left turn here. Then once Wozy comes into that 40 nautical mile range, I'll reduce the zoom on the MFD. Looks like we're about to be entering that cloud layer, producing all of that snow underneath us. It looks like we are entering the clouds, and we're probably going to be staying in them at this point. A little bit of in and out. But we're going to be deep in it pretty shortly here. I guess not. Guess we still have to get a little bit lower. Very interesting. The plane was maintaining about 240 knots for the most part, and then it jumped up to just above 250. Hopefully it slows down pretty good. once we're at 10,000 or lower. $10,000 is coming right up. Never really turn the wing inspection lights off. Oops. One of these days I'm going to have everything down to a T. I'm surprised it's taken me this long, but again, it'd be a lot more helpful if maybe I actually looked for the checklist or whatever, but whatever. Up 10,000 feet, landing lights are coming on. We'll put them on the flash mode, and taxi lights coming on because we are clearing ourselves to land because we can do that. We're not with ATC, we're not on VATSIM or anything like that, so. Alright, below 10,000, we're slowing down. We're about 235 knots now, which is pretty good. Oh yeah, we are deep in those clouds now. I'm curious when the snow is going to start pelting the plane. Yeah, you know an airplane is good on the sim when you can, you know, make a hold. I know the Aerosoft CRJ was struggling with that, and I had totally forgotten to test if that works now. That's going to be something I do very soon, because I would like to fly the CRJ again. But yeah, this plane can do a hold, the PMDG can do a hold. It's nice and refreshing when an aircraft can actually do everything that you want it to do. I am very much a nerd for that kind of detail. Alright, and we're coming up on Wozy, which will put us pretty much directly over the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. And then we will be heading just a few miles to the northwest towards the Niagara Falls International Airport. Now the fun thing about Niagara Falls International, as far as the runway configuration is concerned, ever since they closed the South Parallel, they took a few taxiways with it, and taxiing after landing 2-8 is quite an interesting situation and scenario. You better hope that you basically stop by the Charlie taxiway, because then you can take Charlie straight to the terminal, but if you pass it, then you got to do a little bit of monkeying around with your taxi and take different taxiways and stuff. And by the way, the snow is now pelting the aircraft, which I can hear. That's kind of cool. Right, the aircraft is slowing us down to 210 knots, and I do actually like that. I'm curious if that was already in the FMC. Let's go to the next page, previous. Oh, 206 at Wozy, 151. I want to be at 180. Crossing over Cathy. And then what I'm going to do is once we cross over Cathy and we start entering this procedure turn, I'm going to manually descent down to 2,000 feet so we can intercept the localizer, because I don't think VNAV would put us down quick enough to make 2,000 feet by the end of the first lap. So we're just going to throw some drag in there. And then we're going to make a relatively rapid descent down to 2,000. Nothing, you know, unstable or anything like that, but we do have to kind of move in altitude to intercept this final approach course before having to go another lap in the hold. Because then it will become a hold rather than just a procedure turn. And then I will go to flaps 5 in the hold to help with drag to keep us at 180 knots in our descent, and to keep us at 180 knots without, you know, being close to stall speed. So let's decrease the range here. And then 5 miles from Cathy, I'm going to go flaps 1 and drop the slats. And then I'll go flaps 5 about 2 to 3 miles out. About 2 miles out would be more sensible. Alright, flaps on. And then we'll get 2,000 feet preloaded in the altitude bug. then 2 miles out we're going flaps 5. And we can see absolutely nothing outside of our window, which is why we're doing this procedure turn and following the minimum safe altitudes and everything like that, so we don't hit anything. You don't want that surprise. Alright, flaps are going to 5. We're going to go speed intervention because it's trying to slow us down. I want to be at 180 here. Alright, it is entering the hold for us, so let's go ahead and descend at about, we'll do 1,300 feet per minute. Actually, no, that makes sense, because then we would hit 2,000 by the time we wrapped around. Because we got 1,700 feet to lose, and we have basically 2 minutes to do it, so 1,300 feet per minute is good. The aircraft is maintaining 180 knots, which is really good. I like that. It's doing this procedure turn very, very well. I like that. And actually the hold is 2,200, so let's do that, 2,200, until we become established on that inbound leg. And this is doing a teardrop entry, which is really, really cool. Okay, now we're going to drop the gear because the inbound leg is going to be roughly about 10 miles because Kathy is 4.1 miles, so we're going to be about 10 miles right here, so we're going to want to start configuring to land before we cross over Kathy to give ourselves ample time. So we have 3 greens down here, 3 greens up top. Let's go ahead and arm the speed brake. And we're going to go, once again, we'll do a 2 on the auto brakes. And everything looks good here. And we do have a glide slope coming in already. It's armed by this white triangle, or this white diamond, and the localizer is as well. So actually, when we roll out on the inbound course, I'm actually going to arm approach mode, and we'll just do the approach from 2,200 because it never hurts to keep a little bit of extra altitude, especially in, you know, hardcore IFR scenarios like this. So now that we're rolling out, that glide slope is coming in, so let's arm approach mode. We'll get Command B engaged as well, so we have the dual channel ILS. We'll go flaps 15 and slow down to 160. And we're intercepting that glide slope, which is really good. We'll do flaps 25, go down to 150, and then we want 146 over the numbers, and flaps 30. can see the snow falling, which is really, really cool. So we're on localizer and we're on glide slope.
1,000.
We're going to take over the auto throttle by hand now. Okay, we got the rabbits. That's good. But we want to be careful because those could disappear in a wall of snow. And this ILS system seems to be more in line with the runway than 22 right at JFK, so that's good. I visual the rabbits, but not the actual runway yet.
$400.
See that wall of snow is kind of taking over the
Approaching minimum.
Okay, we have the rabbits, so we can go down to 100
Minimum.
feet.
200.
Oh, there we go. We have the lighting and we have the runway in sight. Sweet.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Oh, such a greaser. Okay, we got 2 in reverse. We ease that nose down. Auto brake is helping us here. Alright, 60 knots. Reversers are coming out and we'll take over manual braking. And we made Charlie. Look at that. Alright. Oh. That was probably my best flying yet. Okay. Alright, let's get rid of those speed brakes. And we're going to make the left turn on Charlie here. And we're just going to take Charlie all the way to our gate. Look at that. Oh. That was actually, I think, one of my, probably my best landing I've ever made on stream. Oh, so wondrous. Alright, let's get that yaw damper off, and we will turn the landing lights off, and the strobes off, and wing inspection lights off as well. Make sure we're still in the taxiway here. And let's get all those flaps retracted. And again, this runway 28 left / 10 right doesn't exist anymore, so we don't have to worry about lights crossing it. We almost lost the rabbits there, so it almost turned into a missed approach, but I maintained visual of the rabbits, and I did have the Mauser lighting in sight. And we were able to continue the approach. Ooh, this dip doesn't exist in real life. Okay, that's pretty bad. Huh, weird. Okay, make the left turn on Charlie. That was beautiful. That was... We just barely made minimums. Alright, we'll clear that master caution for now. Our flaps are all retracted, that's good. And let's actually start the APU, which we remembered to turn off before taxi this time. And this is definitely a default scenery that's incorrect because we are not on Kilo, we are actually on Charlie. So that taxi sign is not correct. Alright, and this is inactive, so let's get the landing lights on and the strobes, clear both directions, and we're good to cross. And then we're making this right turn over here to get to our gate. Actually should have just came over here, that would have been the smarter move. Keep forgetting that the terminal is a little bit more to the north than I remember. We want this line right here. I almost passed it. Let's recenter our view just so I can try and get that perfect line up again like I did at JFK. Oh, you know what? I never turned the strobes off. And it didn't reset my view, so that didn't end up well. Okay. But I think I got it right about here. We'll have to see how I did. Alright, parking brake is coming on. It's set. Engines are coming off. And once again, I forgot to turn on the APU gen. What a shame. Alright, taxi lights coming off. Fasten seatbelt signs are coming off as well. APU bleed's coming on. ISOL valve is opening. Anti-collision light is off. Alright. Quick do some flows. Yaw damper is off. Fuel pumps off except for left forward for the APU. APU gen is working and we turned it on late again. My bad. I'll remember that eventually. We'll go ahead and turn the window heat off because we are terminating our flights for the day. We're good to go. I did forget to turn the engine anti-ice off again, so that's unfortunate. Lights extinguished, that's good. Electric, hydraulic pumps are coming off. The packs are exactly how we want it. The engine bleeds can come off since we're using the APU. And the anti-collision light is off, and we are officially in a turnaround state. Alright, let's go ahead and get that jetway connected via our pushback tool. If it chooses to do so. Oh, we never turn the landing lights off. Okay, I guess it doesn't want to do it for us. That's unfortunate. Okay, let's see how we did on parking. Oh, that's terrible. That's actually garbage. I shouldn't have turned left at the very end there. I actually would have been a lot better off. Oh, you know what? I'm too far back. That's probably part of the problem. Okay. Well, there you have it. Oh, what a shame. Such a beautiful flight, beautiful landing. Just everything was so good up until this garbage parking job. I think the jetway not connecting was the way of telling me that, but okay. But anyway, here we are, back at Niagara Falls. Christmas in July is officially over. Still only have 2 likes to spend 2 likes despite 29 views. But you know what? I like having the 29 views. So thank you to the 29 people that came in and, you know, even for a second viewed the channel and saw what was going on. I really appreciate that. It does bump the numbers up. We really didn't have anyone to give away to, so that might be something in store for a future stream. This isn't a one and done type deal, especially since this one didn't work out. I'll figure out some time to organize another giveaway, but today I wanted to go with the Christmas in July theme to basically match my first ever giveaway. But you know, it didn't work out, but that's okay because I still had a really good time, and honestly that was probably some of the best flying that I have done on a stream so far. So love that, honestly. Anyway, that's it for today. Those flights were really, really good. This flight back was just about perfect. The only thing I forgot to do was turn on the APU generator before shutting down the engines, but we had a really nice descent. We executed a procedure turn, you know, perfectly, and we intercepted the ILS, and it was really interesting because we had the rabbits in sight the whole time. When we broke out of the layer of clouds, I saw the rabbits, and I had a feeling that a wall of snow was going to come in and try and take out my visual of the rabbits, which in fact it started to. But when I was just about to go mist, just before I made that decision, I saw the, I believe they were Alcifs, the type of lighting. Nope, they're Malzers. I saw the Malzers, and so I was able to descend to 100 feet above touchdown zone elevation, and by the time we got to 100 feet above touchdown zone elevation, we saw the runway environment, so we executed the landing, and boy, was it an amazing landing. Truly amazing. Best flying I've ever done on stream, so I'm very satisfied with the results there, and I hope I can continue that type of skill. But anyway, that's going to be it for tonight. I'm really excited for the things that are coming for the channel. I'm really proud of myself for the things that I was able to do just in the past couple days alone. It's been really hard to get this channel to a more professional level, but now we have a Discord, now we have Nightbot, we have many things that the channel hasn't had before, and it will only get better from there, and I'm really excited for what's in store for the future. But until next time, which I'm not entirely sure when that's going to be, it might be sometime this weekend, or it could be Monday evening, something along those lines, but we'll get something going, and maybe another giveaway will be on the table for that stream. But to the 30 people that came in and, you know, quickly viewed me, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed, and if you're watching this after the actual live, I appreciate that as well. I hope you guys take care. Have a great day, night, whatever it is, wherever you are, and until next time, you guys take care. We'll see you.